What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Fit Fat Dad podcast. What's up, Blair?
What's going on, G Money?
Man, how you doing?
I just got done working my fit part of the Fit Fat Dad podcast. So if I'm a little sweaty, had to get it in today. And then come straight over here.
Keeping it real. I
That's
love
right.
how you always make time for the Fit Fat Dad podcast.
Absolutely. Well, I'm done saving the world. So
Hey, we missed you. I'm glad to have you back. Tell me about saving the world. Did you get her done?
99.9%.
Well, that's got. So speaking of saving the world, I'm curious if you remember our catchphrase. So we didn't do an introduction today. So Blair, tee it up right now. Where are we at?
I'm still working on it, G.
Which brings me to my point. So I was sitting here thinking, how can we automate our introduction?
I like it.
Because there's a lot of room for error.
Yeah.
I mess it up, you botch it up. So let's just take it to a part of a show, if you guys will allow us. Let's toying around with some different introductions, Blair. And I'll tee it up here for a second, and you tell me which one you think that we should go. So, Blair, before I get there, I'd like to add a little context here. We grew up in the days of alternative rock and grunge rock coming on.
Yep.
So some of my influences, as a lot of my friends will tell you, is there's a huge Creed influence in my life. There's also a huge Pearl Jam influence in my life.
Okay.
And what better way than if Eddie Vedder himself were to introduce the Fit Fat Dad podcast? Would you be okay with that?
That takes it to the next level.
I mean, I don't know where we're getting the funds to do that, but I feel like we're close.
The graciousness of his heart, man.
Graciousness of his heart. So if Eddie Vedder were to announce the Fit Fat Dad podcast, let's just see where he would go. So here we go. Bringing in Eddie Vedder. And think about this, listeners out there. If this is what you came into every time you started and heard the Fit Fat Dad podcast. So I'll shut up here. On this podcast, the Fit Fat Dad with Blair and Blair, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. One more time for the people in the back. On this podcast, the Fit Fat Dad with Blair and Blair, yeah. Oh, yeah. That cost a lot of money. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, man. Well, what about the Creed one? Like,
oh, gosh. So let's just put it out there. Scott Stapp has had a pretty tumultuous career. Started out strong, kind of fell off the face. People made fun of him. But here at the Fit Fat Dad, we like Scott Stapp. Creed is a staple of our listening, workout, whatever. Yeah. I mean, forever. So believe it or not, Blair, we did get him to do us a little local promo. And for the listeners out there, you dads, especially if you grew up with Creed, be interested to know if you like a little Scott Stapp version of the intro for the Fit Fat Dad. So let's just take it away. Scott Stapp, go for it. Well, I just heard a podcast today. It's Fit Fat Dad. It's with Graham and Blair, the kind of fit, yeah. And kind of fat, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
I need my cell phone. They don't do lighters anymore. You got to have a cell phone.
Yeah. Let's get it out here.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not going to play that one again. That got a little long-winded, but how just thoughtful he was to bring that into the Fit Fat Dad podcast.
Resurrecting his career.
Yeah. So another one, the guy that does the Sports Center announcing, he was available. And I was able to get him. And this is more professional. It may be the way that we're going. We had to gear out some extra dollars for this one, but we'll just go ahead and let that one play. Since this was obviously the most production value and professionalism that we had. So without further ado, welcome to the Fit Fat Dad podcast. The podcast where it's two dads, Graham and Blair, who are kind of fit, kind of fat, talking all things dad. That just got you amped right now.
Oh, I'm pumped, man. I'm
You're,
pumped.
so if you had to choose between the three, where are you going?
Oh, I think the first one, especially if we get some video on the Sports Center, some highlight clips.
Oh, so you're going with Sports Center and
Oh,
not Eddie Vedder?
yeah, I'd go Sports Center because I mean, hey, production is getting better. Production is definitely getting better. So get some clips of us being very fit. We've shown that on a few episodes ago. Maybe some video of us downing some wings because I know we can down some wings. That's the kind of the fat. And then hey, being good dads, that'd be awesome.
Well, there's no promises that Eddie Vedder doesn't come back. And before we go into the next segment, I'm just gotta on this podcast, the Fit Fat Dad with Blair, Blair, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Anyways, we have lost all our subscribers and listeners with that little bit.
Now they're done.
That's okay. It is what it. So hey, let's transition to the hashtag Dad Life moment, and this hashtag Dad Life moment when Dad leaves the room.
Yes.
Take it away, Blair.
So if you haven't followed our Facebook page, go follow our Facebook page, and you will see that yesterday I posted stickers. So stickers are great entertainment for kids until Dad leaves the room.
Oh yeah.
So working around the house yesterday, go downstairs. My kids are now 3 and 5, so they're playing by themselves. Dad's upstairs. Go downstairs, come back upstairs, and my 3-year-old daughter had her unicorn and rainbow and some other glitzy sticker all over the TV. And when I mean all over the TV, I mean all over the TV. So you can imagine Dad Blair's blood pressure
through the roof.
Like it was here. It was here.
Through the roof.
Oh,
so did the sticky stay on the TV, or were
they
you
did
able
not.
to get that off?
It did not. It was able to come off. It was. So luckily they hadn't just compressed them and mashed them on the TV. It was like, oh, let's make this beautiful. Let's put all this over there. So I had to scrape a few with my nail, but overall it wasn't bad. But yeah, when dads leave the room, that's a big one. So stickers are now out of reach of children.
How nervous did you get when you were cleaning the TV? And when you push on the TV and you get the spectacular burst of color because you touched the TV. Were you shaking in your boots?
I was a little bit. I'm like, oh man. Well, let's see here. So when's football season start? I really get into watching. All right, we got about 3 months, 4 months to football season. Okay, I can save up and get another TV by then.
That is a dad. So mine is quick and to the point. So my wife's engagement ring, right? Spent a pretty penny on that as a young buck trying to court the lovely coach wife. And she was walking around the house one day. Have you seen my ring? I'm like, no, honey. I've seen you leave it on the dresser, table, nightstand. I have not seen your ring. And so that transitioned into a little bit more panic, a little bit more nervousness, and 30 minutes go by and she can't find her ring. She searched the car, an hour goes by, can't find her ring. Now she's starting to panic a little bit because she just had it. And I remember in our bedroom, like I don't know what it was, call it a sign from God, that I just kind of looked at the nightstand table and I looked at the HVAC vent on the floor vent, floor register. It's like, if I were a kid, that would be, so we got shiny object in the ring and then a vent. That would be something that I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I walk over to the vent and the light hit it and I saw something shining and I saw it. And hallelujah, like I'm not an HVAC repairman or whatever, but thank God the way they design vents is it doesn't go straight down. There's a catch,
right?
Like it levels off and then goes down. And the ring was sitting right on the edge, so I had to MacGyver that thing. Precision surgical effort. But when Dad left the room, he threw Mommy's engagement ring down the floor register.
Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
Is that when you lost all your hair?
No. Yeah. No, that was well before. This was actually like a couple of months ago. Yeah. So
Oh wow. Okay.
it added more wrinkles. Is what
Oh, there you go.
yeah, that's
There we go.
exactly. So that's our hashtag dad life moment. When dad leaves the room, what all kind of mischievous things are your children doing that you eventually find out about? So two pretty good stories, but interested to hear what you would have to say. So for our 15 subscribers on YouTube, drop that in the chat. But I know we've got many more on Spotify and Apple. So you guys are the auditory listeners. So thank you for that. Be interested. Post it on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. So Blair, we'll transition into the meat of this podcast. And we've been lighthearted a little bit the last couple. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to take this back and go through a problem that I think is just ravaging everyone in society, but specifically dads and myself. I'm going through it too. And I've been reading a book here by John Mark Comer, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Not illumination like a light, but elimination.
Mm-hmm.
My southern slang doesn't properly pronounce words every now and then. So this is about a 300-page book. And I'll be honest and open with you. I was in a spot over the last 2 weeks where have just been overwhelmed. And I normally never get like that, but just pressure,
Yeah.
anxiety, everybody wanting my energy all at the same time. And I just said a prayer that morning. I was like, God, please speak to me. I need your guidance. And it
Yeah.
just so happened to be that I had already ordered this book on Amazon. And when I opened the book, it spoke life into me. And I'm not like a fast paced reader. I usually digest and take slow, but I went through this book in 36 hours. It was that good. But I know as busy as we all are and all the dads out there and moms and everybody is just in a hurry. And we never take time to slow down. We never take time to really be where our feet are. I think you say that all the time. And
Yep.
is that a Elko quote? Is that
It's an Elko quote that got repeated to me by my wife. Well, I think I said it to her maybe twice. And then, being a small business owner, it's very hard to, especially in the early years, be where your feet are. And it was repeated to me over and over and over again because my phone was always in my hand, even on vacations and, just everywhere. Hey, responding to emails. And I never where my feet were. So I'm taking that to heart big time now.
so? What I'm going to do is in this book, he calls it hurry sickness.
Mm-hmm.
You may call it FOMO, fear of missing out. You may call it anxiety. You may call it whatever. And I say you, meaning our
Yeah.
listeners out there. For what I'm going to do is the book just has such great, just life giving advice. I would highly recommend you pick this book up. Not even recommend, I'm telling you, pick this book up. And we're not sponsored
No.
by this book at all. I'm just letting you know that. But book was so life changing to me. And I'm implementing a lot of these things because I'm going to take you through this, Blair, and just see where you're at. And I'll kind of relate where you're at. But our listeners out there, think through this and kind of self evaluate where you are. So these are the 10 symptoms of hurry sickness. So, number one, irritability. And this is you get mad, frustrated, or just annoyed way too easily. Little normal things irk you. People have to tiptoe around your ongoing negativity, if not anger. And one way to identify this is look at how you're treating your colleagues, your neighbor. Look at how you treat those closest to you, your spouse, your children, your roommate. So, Blair, and you may not be in this spot right now, but when you feel the weight of everything, talk to me about irritability. Is this a symptom that you have, or do you have it right now?
I don't have it right now at this moment in time, but there was definitely a phase where let me back up. I have it when I'm in my car. So the people around me that I'm driving, they don't know that I'm irritated at them, but I absolutely am because I need to get somewhere and get somewhere fast. At this stage in life where I am right now, I don't feel like I have that. but I have been there with coworkers
Mhm.
and my wife. When I get stressed and a lot's coming at me, and like you said, people are pulling at you, and your kids and your wife, and everybody has need. Everybody has needs. Um, that's where I can get a little testy, and I think it's more of a short temper than irritable, if that makes sense. Um, just the little things tend to set me off.
Yeah. So self-diagnosis where I'm at within the last 2 weeks, this one was a check mark. And the way irritability manifests itself with me is I may not react to somebody. Like I've got enough control over my
Yeah,
emotions that
yeah,
if I'm mad at somebody, I just don't jump down their
yeah,
throat.
yeah,
But it may manifest itself in the way I speak to my children, especially if they've messed up the room that I've told them to, or I've had to tell them something multiple times.
yeah,
So I had a great sit down with my wife, and this is something that we're trying to get better and have not always done. Is I started talking through, if you see these things in me, you need to tell me to go take a walk, or tell
yeah,
me to take a break, or tell me to just go wet a line, because it's not that I'm meaning to do this. I'm just not in a good space. But the way that it's manifested with me is I'll say stuff about even those closest to me, just in conversation to somebody, about things that are irritating me with somebody. And that's normally not my posture. That's normally not how I'll
yeah,
do things. And I always get humbled because I usually say it to my wife, and she'll say, "Well, did you consider that this was where they're at?" And I'll be like, "No, I didn't." And she
mhm,
brings me right in. I'm like, "Man, why did I even say that?" And it may not even be huge, but it could just be something like, "Man, I was at a meeting today, and so said this, and I took it way
right, yeah,
incorrectly. Like I read it, the situation completely wrong, but I got up in my emotions, and that's how it manifests." So I'll move on to number two, and this is kind of relays into this: hypersensitivity. So all it takes is a minor comment to hurt your feelings, a grumpy email, "Can I get a hallelujah?" to set you off, or little turn of events to throw you into emotional funk or absolutely destroy your day. Uh, you allow minor things to quickly escalate into major things. So self-diagnosis, you've lost the ability to roll with the punches. Is that one that sticks out to you, Blair?
yes. Again, like I think right now, just the stage of life that I am in this season, no. Go back 6 months, yes, absolutely. I feel like my connection with my relationship with God now has really helped me in that area of just knowing that, hey, it'll be okay, and there are things that we haven't discussed in this podcast that's happened in my life that has kind of allowed me to grow in that area, to just keep taking that step forward.
Yeah.
But now it's, yeah, at this point in life, no, but I've been there.
Yeah. I was there.
Yeah,
I think I'm still there. And normally these things don't affect me, but prime example, I was traveling last week, and man, I've become a huge fan of what some people will call the 35,000-foot spa retreat. And what I mean by that is you're on an airplane, and that's becoming, and it's becoming less, but that's one place where it's hard for people to reach you.
yeah, yeah,
And I love that. But I also am that person that quickly, once the plane lands, takes it out of airplane mode, and first thing I do is turn on my email. Well,
right,
that happened to me, and 90 emails downloaded. Like, how in the world do 90 emails download over a 2 hour period? And several of those emails, whether it was meant that way, intended that way, and I know it probably wasn't, I read it that way, and it
right.
irked me. And luckily, I had enough control. Actually, I didn't, because I deleted my response 4 times, because I did respond and deleted it, and just took a walk on the between terminals and walked it out for an hour, and then came back to it and wrote a better response. But so I'm 2 for 2 within the past 2 weeks.
Okay,
All right, we got to hurry or we'll be here all day. So restlessness, when you actually do try to slow down and rest, you can't relax. So in other words, your mind and body are hyped up on the drug of speed And when they don't get their next dopamine fix, so dopamine can be, hey, I've got to check social media, veg out on Netflix, whatever gives you that boost of like, right, wrong, or indifferent. It could
Mhm.
be, addiction, alcohol, whatever. But you have that. You can't turn your mind off because even when you're not working, your mind's working. What say you, Blair?
All the time. All the time. That one checks the box big time. Whether it's just there is no slowdown. I think we were talking about that before this podcast. Is how was your weekend, things like that. And I mean, we practically worked in some areas of my life all weekend, and there was no chill. And if it was sitting down, there was a Netflix show to quote unquote wind down, but I was still getting that fix.
Yeah.
Um, there's very few times, I guess, in the last 4 or 5 years where I really have been able to quote unquote just exhale and not consume anything.
Yep. Yep. So I'll move on to number 4, uh, workaholism or workaholic. You just nonstop activity. And the difference between restlessness is you do stop actually working, but your brain doesn't stop. Being a workaholic is you don't stop. You just keep going. So you just don't know when to stop. You don't know how to set boundaries, or worse, you can't stop. Your drugs of choice are accomplishment and accumulation. And I like to look at this one as you look at activity as being productive. And
Hmm.
we've talked about activity is not production because you
Correct.
can do a lot of things, but you may not be doing the things that you need to do to
Yeah,
progress.
absolutely.
But your family and your children get the grouchy, curt, overtired version of you
I
because
think
that's
that, yeah,
go
that
ahead.
depends on the day. I mean, that really depends on the day. I think that's a day to day thing for me. If it's been a stressful day at work, and this is something that I mean, thank God. Well, first of all, thank God for my wife, and I think in your wife because they have I know my wife Ricky has kept me in check multiple times in this aspect. Like we've had sit downs, and she's like, you come home and you bring work home. If it's been a stressful day, me and the kids can tell, and you're not the nicest person in
Yeah,
the world. Not that you're mean, but you're short, and you can tell you're stressed out, and your mind isn't where you aren't where your feet are. And that's a big aspect where I've had to learn. But that can happen once or twice a week, and Ricky will check me on it. She will. One of the things that we have done here recently is just we eat dinner at the dinner table together.
good.
Like that's one things we do. We started having the kids. They have a little table. We were having them have a show on to entertain them, but we've turned that off. So it's just 20-30 minutes with nothing going on, and I get to reconnect with my wife in that aspect because we're quote in a hurry all the time and there's everything going on. But that I guess that's one way where the workaholic. I don't have my phone with me all the time. Sometimes we do, but I'm with my wife. I'm present.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's again. I agree with you on the day to day. It's going to vary. Uh, Next one is emotional numbness. So this one hit me in the feels,
Mhm.
where I guess the way I describe it, it didn't hit me in any feels at all. You just don't have the capacity to feel another's pain. So empathy is a rare feeling for you because you just don't have the time for it. Like your brain is so packed
Mhm.
with so much that you just don't have time to process it or actually feel what you need to feel. Um, and I won't touch on that one, but take that one for what it is. I definitely struggle with that one because
Yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah. I'm the same way, Graham. I'm the same way. My wife tells me all the time, "You're not a very empathetic person," and I, I'm not. I'm not.
yep. So out of order priorities, you feel disconnected from your identity and calling. And I think a better way of describing this is you lose track of your why and your purpose. Uh, this one I've gotten better at, but
Mhm.
I have been in that like middle of the ocean, waves coming inside the boat,
Yeah,
and I can't see the shore. Like that happens to me a lot. What say you?
yeah, absolutely. I I have definitely been there. I've been there recently. And there's a great exercise that our our CEO of Iron Tribe, he did a 5 why exercise, and it was pretty powerful. So you take 5 days, and each morning you get up. Your day one, you write your why out, and then you put it down. And then the next day, you come back, you recheck that why. And I can't remember if you actually rewrite it, but anyways, you do that consecutively for 5 days, and if it's the same why, that's your purpose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever heard of that exercise?
I've heard of various exercises.
Yeah.
I know, I think it's John Maxwell talks about the 5 chops a day
Yep.
principle, and it's kind of the same
Yeah.
thing. And a lot of that's broken into, if your purpose is, you don't know it, one, but if your purpose is big and broad, sometimes people get lost in seeing the end state and it being far away. So sometimes you just need 5 chops a day, and you can, it's easier than eating it all at once.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on, number 7, lack of care for your body. So I'm going to ask you to digest this one a little bit, because
Okay.
I think the kind of fit version of us, we like to exercise.
Yep.
Exercise is probably our dopamine rush, if we're being honest. That allows us, and while that's good, I've been in boneheaded moves where I've completely destroyed my body because that's what it's taken to do to get that little boost of dopamine, and I probably should have been resting, and it's put me into the doctor's office. I'll be straight honest with you.
Yeah.
But this one, you don't have time for the basics. And some of these I am absolutely on. 8 hours of sleep, daily exercise. I feel like I got that one. Healthy home cooked food. I've gotten away from that one. Minimal stimulants. Hey, I drink a lot of coffee, and I drink more now than I ever have. And here's one: margin. Do we create margin in our life? Because you need margin to process. You just need space where you don't have a lot going on. I don't have that one. I schedule wall to wall all the time. So I really like this one. You live off the 4 horsemen of the industrialized food apocalypse: caffeine, sugar, processed carbs, and alcohol. And every one of those has made its way into my routine at some point. And
Yeah.
I've got the sword out, and I've battled.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a constant battle, man. Like, the one I'm really losing the battle to is caffeine. I've gotten the booze under control.
Yep.
Sugar is coming after me like the Grim Reaper.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. It's like, if everything else is good, sugar comes and attacks me at night. Midnight snack. What say you, Blair?
Yeah, I think the booze is a big thing. Taking the edge off a couple times a week, or a couple, cocktails at night. Don't do that anymore. If sugar's in the house, that's a hard one for me. And hey, just don't do it. I'm like, it's really hard. Like, we had cupcakes.
Yeah, especially being a dad.
Yeah.
Because that's all the kids live off of.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get in more trouble with Coach Wife because I eat up all the kids' food.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%. 100%.
I'm like, there's more of that. There's the sausage biscuits. There's I hate to admit this, but dads out there will say this, like, 2 bowls of Trix cereal last night.
Wow. Okay. Well,
kind of fat, brother. Just
yeah.
saying.
So I think that's where, it's funny. I've been doing a lot of discipline. I think is the biggest thing for me. And it was like, dude, even just this weekend, I had this moment. I had a cupcake moment, and I've really been eating clean. Because I'm, it's up and down. But man, I had one cupcake. Hey, we were there. We were celebrating, having the kids. I ate up 2 more cupcakes on Sunday, just back to back. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
I just didn't have they were in the house, and I did not discipline myself to not have those cupcakes. And it sounds like, even just when you're talking about the hurry, it sounds like having the discipline, and comes back to discipline to push these things that are distracting you out of your life, and just, and discipline's the word, man.
Well, and I think, so it's easy to be disciplined when we're in a proper mindset, and we can't be in a proper mindset with them when we're in a hurry.
Yep.
And I lose the battle to my flesh when I'm in a hurry, because hurry brings on anxiety. And I find myself, especially in these four horsemen of the nutrition apocalypse, I find myself really losing that battle because then it brings in comforts. So sugar
Yep.
is a comfort, caffeine is a comfort,
Yep.
alcohol is a way of numbing and bringing into the next one. Number 8, escapist behaviors. When you're too tired to do what's actually life giving for your souls, we turn to our distraction of choice: overeating, over drinking, binge watching Netflix, scrolling social media, surfing the web, looking at porn. Name your preferred cultural narcotic.
Hmm.
And you're just stuck in this negative feedback loop of these things, right? And so it's, I think a lot of people, if we're being honest, that's probably what's wrong with a lot of our society today
Yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
there's way too many narcotics of choices and they're easily available.
Yeah. I agree. Man. So it's funny. I hear somebody ask, on the business side of things, well, Blair, who's your biggest competitor? I'll tell you, fast food and Netflix,
Oh
because
yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, that's the biggest competitor and the biggest distraction for so many people to get their body right is, it's, hey, I'd rather kick my feet up and binge watch Netflix and have Uber Eats delivered to my door. And society has made it so much easier to just sit down and relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sit down and relax to consume the things that you just talked about. It's
Yeah.
not hard anymore to get those dopamine dumps and get the sugar and
Yeah.
and to escape reality.
Yep. And it's, I think it's actually in this book, or maybe I read it somewhere else, but they asked the CEO of Netflix who their biggest competitor were, and they're saying Amazon Prime, Hulu, and his response was sleep.
Yeah.
That's their biggest competitor,
Yeah.
and everything that they design and the way that they have their intros, their top 10, all these things, and same with social media, same with just anything that has a code-based development, it is designed to steal your attention.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, we find ourselves in these states of just hurry and restlessness. Okay, so number 9, slippage of spiritual disciplines. Uh, so again, that's when you get over busy, the things that are truly life giving, that restore us, that
Hmm.
bring us joy, are the things that get put on the back burner,
Yeah. I think
which is so crazy.
it is. It
It's the
really
truth.
is. It is the truth. I mean, you think about, even just as parents. I mean, how many times maybe not you, but just listeners, how many times are you in the room with your kids, but you're watching a show or you're on the phone? So
Yeah,
it's funny. So one of my managers' name is Matt Cauliflower Ear. I
stay
was,
away.
yeah, stay away. So I picked up my son and we were on the way home and I don't know if it's somebody called me or maybe it was just very unprompted, but he said, Daddy, if Mr. Matt calls, you hit the red button. You hit the red button and you put him on pause. Because he wanted my attention on the car ride home instead of me being on my phone and then back in the back. Like he just wanted
Wow.
to talk to me on the way home.
Yeah.
And that hit home. It was funny, but it also like reflecting on it said, dang, my kids go to daycare, so I'm not. Most mornings I take them to daycare. Most mornings I pick them up. But that's time with I could be spending and talking to them about their day, and he has acknowledged that I'm on my phone a lot. And it's
Yep.
like, oh, that hit home like
Yep.
deep. So
Yep.
it's okay. Phone goes away, and it's funny how like that's just special moments that you could have with your children that you're missing, and they grow up so fast. They talk about how fleeting the moments are with your kids, and it's funny that it took that for me to recognize that I'm missing even just a car ride to spend time with my children.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy to reschedule with our family
Absolutely.
because they're somewhere in our twisted minds we think that that's okay because that's what I can control and I don't want, it doesn't matter if I disappoint them because I live with them, we'll just do it again,
That's right.
as opposed to this is a work meeting, or this is
Yeah.
an event that I have to attend. And uh, the way I love about, and we've talked about this, the way this book starts is reanalyzing your metrics of life.
Yeah.
Are your metrics going to be, hey, I made every meeting on time? Hey, I was a star presenter. Hey, I made X amount of sales. Hey, I sold X amount of realty.
Yep.
Whatever your business is, I sold X amount of gym memberships. I've had the best customer loyalty, client retention. Does any of that stuff come up when you're dead? Has that ever discussed at any funeral you've ever been to, Blair?
Man, you took the words out of my mouth. Gee.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, you really haven't. And so to expound on that, where did I see it? And I mean, it's out there, but I mean, you hear it all the time. Like, you only have 18, 19 years with your children, and then now they're adults.
Yeah.
And that's all you get. And that's
Yep.
in the, in the grand scheme of life, that's a small window, that you get to spend with them. And we hurry up, and parents rushing to ball practice or whatever it is, or dance, and we're going to hurry. And you forget to look at them and say, wow, I need to savor these moments because they'll be gone. And I think there's a lot of wisdom, even just in, I see it from my father, and I think there's wisdom of grandparents. So I think that's really interesting to see now, because even, with my parents, my brother and I were athletes and running around, and we were always on the go, 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 go. And now seeing how they interact with my children, they've learned to slow it down, and it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
chronically late.
Yeah.
I laugh at them all the time. I'm like, this is Morris time, and y'all are, 20, 15 minutes late everywhere when they have the kids. But that's also very powerful, because they're getting to spend so much time with them, and they're enjoying and soaking up every single moment.
Yeah.
And as parents, we need to do that. We need to slow down and not be in a hurry.
Not be in a hurry. And the other thing too is, sometimes if you're still doing it, so where I'm going at is like quiet time in the morning.
Yeah.
Getting in the word, prayer, worship, spending time with God, going to church in person. Like, these are things that get put on the back burner. And sometimes you can go through the motions and still do it.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many times I've been in church in person, and we get to the end and I'm like, what in the world was just discussed?
Yeah.
Because my mind was somewhere else.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I've got a big meeting Monday morning. I've got to prepare for this. And I just couldn't be in the moment. So those are all things that take a hit, which that is definitely, I'm guilty of that. So number 10, isolation. You feel disconnected from God, others, and your own soul. On those rare times when you actually stop to pray, and by pray, I don't mean ask God for stuff. I mean, sit with God in the quiet. You're so stressed out and distracted that your mind can't settle down long enough to enjoy the Father's company. Which, isn't it funny how every time, and this wasn't by purpose, that everyone kind of poured into the next one.
Yeah.
So to me, this is kind of the example I just gave, being in church and I couldn't be there. But I can't tell you how many times in my morning prayer that I almost felt like, just get it over with.
Yep.
I've actually forgotten what I was praying about in mid prayer,
Oh.
because my brain went to like, I got to zzz on my phone, check the message, and now
you're out.
And that's no coincidence.
Yeah.
Like, let's just, the enemy distracts us from that. But there's just, those are the types of things that do it. Okay. So Blair, do the math. Out of those 10, how many would you say truly hit you on the reg?
7 or 8. I think there were two definitive that I was like, nah, that's just not right now. It's not the season of life. But I would say, 7 or 8.
Yeah. So for me, I'd say on the normal, I'm probably 6 to 7 of those. Where I was at the last 2 weeks, 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Like, not in a good spot.
Yeah.
But it was a short term
thing,
and I had an identification. So now that we're 40 minutes into this, but I'm going to keep this train going, man. This is a really good thing. But we talked about that, and I'm not going to walk away without providing solutions. So we'll, as they do at our church, they play the wrap up music, and so you get the application, and you got to get it real quick and walk away. So here's the things that the book covered, but also that I wrote down because I think it's so important. Um, so here's a quote. Um, in prayer, it is better to have a heart without words than words without a heart.
Yep.
And I keep going back to scripture where it's like God knows your heart and knows your request before you even bring it to him. But I'm not sure that I ever like downloaded that as sometimes I could just sit
Mm-hmm.
and not do anything and just be in silence and solitude and just purge. Right? We talked about some of our routines and I talked about avoiding the rush. I love that. But I did a little reflection on that and I've got an improvement to that. I always had a podcast or worship music or something that had it was noise. And if you're always surrounded by noise, whether good noise or bad noise, how can you hear what somebody has to say to you?
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. That was like a haha. Wow. Okay. That's
So it's funny you say that. That's so, and I think you and I've talked about this. Like that's, I think you make time for silent. You have to make time just in our world. You can't rely on it just to manifest itself. You have to make time. I think riding the car is fantastic. I mean, even though you're still driving, but
yep.
we drive on autopilot all the time. Turn everything off.
Yep.
I mean, I do that. I do that not every morning by any means, but I find myself some mornings where I'm just driving and there's nothing. And you say you can have a relationship. I mean, that's a great time to reflect and prayer
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Going into work or after you drop the kids off or whatever it is. I mean, I think that is a perfect time where you have control of what's going on around you, and you can drop the phone and turn the podcast off and drive in silence.
So you mentioned that you did that. I've started doing that, and that has been so life giving to me because I always every time I would do a road trip, I would by myself, I would always get the clearest thoughts. And I
Yeah.
talk about that in our bonus core value episodes that I think I've got like 2 listens on that. But that's when I get the clearest thoughts and I hear from God. But it took me that like, aha, that's because I'm not doing anything. I'm not
Right.
listening to anything. So I've started doing that, and that's really helped. So the takeaway I had from that is God knows our hearts. It may be best to just listen.
Yep.
Let's go. So other key takeaways, right quick, and this is what the book covers. So if the devil, the enemy, can't make you sin, he will keep you busy and distracted.
Hmm.
And if we are distracted, we can't hear God because we hear God best in silence and solitude. And if it's always noisy, we can't hear God. And this book talks about how Jesus was never in a hurry, right? Like they pointed to an example of Lazarus, his best friend, about to die. And they came in to Jesus, and his disciples were even like, he's going to die. We have to go now. And can you imagine yourself in a life and death situation? Like if somebody came to me and said that, Blair, like I would be there before the words got out of their mouth.
Right.
And I know we're not Jesus, but we're followers of Jesus. But he was like, no, let's stay here 2 more days. My work here is not done. He is so important, but I know my purpose,
Right.
and I'm not shaken. And he went back and did his thing, and the rest, resurrection, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, but I thought about that too, like the pressures of people that put their deadlines that are important to them, they put that pressure on you.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times, like, is it you read it in scripture where the disciples had to wake Jesus up? Like, Jesus, there's a line of people out here ready to receive your miracles and your healing and all these different things that you only you can do. He's like, okay, let's he was rested. Like he was just and like if Jesus can do that, why aren't we doing that? Because
Yeah.
it's the other example. It's like I love how it's just right boom in Genesis 2:2, where it's like, and on the seventh day, God finished His work creating the earth, and He rested,
Rested. That's right.
and He blessed this day and made it holy. So I love how the book calls it out. It's like, well, God doesn't have two kids. He's not running his own business. He doesn't have to be at daycare by 5, and he doesn't have all this going on. God rested. Yeah, I got it, but like, God doesn't have back-to-back Teams calls. God doesn't have to go make all these house calls. God doesn't have to do all these projects, build all these houses. God rested. Straight up, God rested. So why don't we rest? Right. So that gets me into my other point, like, and we would be here way, but um, the Sabbath,
Yeah.
which we talked about a little bit. I've always looked at that as Old Testament. That was a rule and regulation that we no longer have to abide by. But it's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
And it's a rest. And I look at it like tithing, where if you give God your first, there's an overabundance that God blesses you with. And I've experienced that, and you've experienced that, but I've never done it with restfulness.
And how often do you look back and say, what did you do on a Sunday? No, just another day of the week.
And it's filled with activity.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You weren't working at your career or your job, but you were still
working for something else. Or maybe you were working.
Yeah.
But and Sabbath doesn't have to be on a Saturday, Sunday. It can just be a full day of rest. And we experimented. So in my almost 40 years of life, have never done any Sabbath ever. Ever. And that got me reflecting, like, I've never taken a day just to rest. I've always had something.
Yeah, always.
And we did that yesterday. Like we talked about it earlier in the week, and I said, I just want to try it out. Hear me out, because it's going to sound really weird. As a motorcycle drives by, I'm sure that'll get picked up, because it's going to be really weird. Let's just unplug all devices, no TV, and have family time and celebrate just one that God has blessed this family. And that to me is a celebration. That's worship, because God created our family, and we're showing gratitude, being outside, experiencing outdoors. And we did that. And I think it took some adjusting, and I probably need a lot more of them. But from where I was at to where I'm at now, within a 24-hour period, I feel good. I'm not all the way back, but it was so much more than I could have ever did. And I did. I tried to get back into the world easy. Man, I had like 90 text messages waiting on me.
You have some people that love you. Golly.
Or who just like to chat. I mean, but that's my thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'll speed us up here, but just a few more things is, I think the most important thing that we have to look at this as dads and people and followers of Christ is that relationships are the most important metric of our lives. And we talked about that earlier.
Yep.
But relationships take time. And Paul says this, but love is patient, right? Love takes time. And we can't appropriately love if we are in a hurry.
Yep.
So that's our call to action today. Let's slow it down. And whatever that means, turning the notifications off your phone, making your smartphone a dumb phone where you delete all your apps and you no longer get text message notifications, turning off your email and only checking it a couple of times a day, being where your feet are and intentionally just, and not allowing other people's deadlines to be your deadlines.
Because it'll still be there.
It'll still be there, and they're still going to be knocking at your door to get you what you need. So, and here's my other diatribe is that everybody's just so freaked out about technology, artificial intelligence, chat GPT. Everybody's coming after our jobs, and they're going to automate everything. I think the way that the world gets in terms of technology and efficiency, and that just further points to the fact that relationships are the most key thing that we have in this world.
Yeah.
And show me a robot that can do that.
They can't.
They can't.
Nope.
So I think that's going to be and continue to be, and it is right now, the most important metric of anything, for
And
work, for family, for business, you name it.
and I think you can always go back and rekindle relationships, because here's the thing, and this happened to me recently, is I had a great friend, long time friend, and lives away, and we chatted, we texted, when we saw each other, it was great, but we never talked until recently. And when I mean talked, sat on the couch, didn't have anything going on, and literally just talked. And it was amazing. And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
how long has it been since we've done this? And we got to messaging back and forth afterwards. Like, that was like old times, like when we were in the same spot. And it was a very eye-opening experience for me. It's just, hey, you can rekindle relationships that you thought were lost by just cutting out distractions, not being in a hurry, and not having activities going on. Just, you know, sit down on the couch and turn off the TV and engage with other people. And, you know, don't hurry.
Don't
Don't
hurry.
hurry.
I felt like we knocked it out of the
Yeah,
park today,
man.
Blair.
That was a good one.
It took some help. It took some other people's writing it down on paper, but that's something that we all struggle
Yep.
with and all can associate with. And that's why I would recommend, again, I'll pull it back up, this book right here, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Pick it up. I got it off Amazon. Again, we're not getting paid to promote this book, and I may have a copyright violation, I don't know, but the book is that good. It really is. I mean, it's changing. So anyways, I know we went deep. I know we went long. And
Powerful,
hopefully
man.
it was life-giving to you
That's
guys. Right. And that's our Cliff Notes version. So, Blair, any words of wisdom before we sign off?
Be where your feet are. Dr. Elko talks
Be
about
where
it.
your feet
Yep.
are. Love it, brother. All right, guys, we enjoyed it. And until next time, we're out. No car line today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I was wondering.
See you guys.